Hi guys. Welcome to my channel. Before we get started, make sure to hit that like button. Also subscribe to my channel. The Rolex story: betrayal, war, innovation and luxury watches, so make sure to watch the full video. While the world stays at home, we must come together to find new ways of working and solve new problems. Remotely, of course. The watch industry is no different. Faced with global challenges, the watch industry has chosen an uncharted road to great innovation. Whether it's a pilot getting on a plane, a world returning from war, or the need for technological change, the watch industry is responding. Let's take a look back at some of the most important watches that have emerged in a time of change. Because innovation comes as needed. World War I and the Breitling chronograph. 1915. Pocket watches existed for hundreds of years until the end of the 1800s, but the idea of a wristwatch only emerged during the Sino-Japanese War in 1894 and the Boer War in 1899. Conceptualization. Reliance on accurate timekeeping became important to soldiers, so lugs were soldered and leather was used to tie the pocket watch to the wrist, leaving both hands free to check the time. Leon Breitling started a pocket watch manufacturing plant in 1884 and soon became interested in chronograph functions. This obsession has led to innovations in precision and technology. This ideal continued when his son Gaston became Breitling's owner in 1914. In the years leading up to World War I, wristwatches became increasingly common among soldiers and a necessity among officers. New technologies used in combat are introduced, including one of the most important, aircraft. Gaston recognized the need for these technological advances and produced one of the world's first wristwatches with a chronograph and separate buttons. This gave pilots quick access to the exact time and was able to measure fuel levels as a function of flight time. This innovation also makes it much easier for pilots wearing thick gloves to start and stop the chronograph without having to wind the crown. This was particularly useful as the counter went up to 30 minutes, the approximate time the pilots flew low-fuel missions. The push button was one of the first major steps in the history of pilots' watches and is the forerunner of the now popular chronomat and navitimer collections. World War II and the Panerai radiomir. 1936. After World War I, soldiers around the world took home a watch that had been of great help to them, generating a lot of interest. Where could they be more useful? Rolex invented the first waterproof case in 1926. But World War II began when the popularity of the wristwatch as both a tool and accessory reached its peak. Enter Panerai. Founded by Giovanni Panerai in Florence in 1860, the company made huge profits selling high-quality watches to the Italian Navy. During World War II, they created a patented high-brightness radium-based paint called Radio World. Very useful, but unfortunately has become known to be lethal to those who work closely with radioactive paint. The company built 10 prototypes of the extra-large Panerai radiomir watch for Italian combat swimmers. This produced a 1938 model with overlapping dials, perforated indexes, and metal lug bars. In 1940, when World War II swept the world, the Navy needed a more powerful watch, and an update was made to increase the water resistance of the radiomir watch. Waterproof, legible, and durable, these watches help define many of the standards for today's divers' watches. The post-war era and the Rolex date just 1945. With the end of World War II, the watch industry, like the rest of the world, began to rebuild and revitalize. Although Switzerland was not affected by the war, most Swiss watch companies focused on government contracts and tool watch production. This allowed Rolex to open its doors to accommodate civilians, and in 1945 it did so with the Rolex Datejust. Rolex launched the Datejust as the first watch to have the date jump at midnight instead of rotating slowly. Around this time, watches were commercialized and popularized, but this was the first time interest in wristwatches exploded. The effect swept many Swiss and European watch brands. Companies such as Jaeger-LeCoultre, Omega, and IWC took advantage of the new interest and launched high-profile new items during this time. But especially for Rolex, Datejust paved the way to becoming one of the most prolific watch brands with the 1950 Cyclops date magnifier. Model lines such as the Explorer, Submariner, and GMT Master were launched in the 1950s. What do you think of our video? Let me know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button. Also subscribe to our channel before you go.